Okay. Thank you, Vandana. I think we just got Avi as well, so could you please call the meeting to order?
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining the February's OWASP board meeting. First of all, I would like to start off with the getting the approval for the motions of past month. So I would
You
like,
need to call attendance, please.
okay, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Andrew. I'll go ahead and start the attendance of the people I see on my screen. I'll start off with Grant.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep. Martin. I can see Glenn, Bill, Jubin, and Avi. Alongside, I can see the staff members, Kelly, Tom Peppers. I can see Andrew, Don. I can see Lauren. I can see Lisa Jones. I can see Harold. And also from the community, I can see Spiros as well. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining today.
Cool. And we just need to approve the minutes.
Yeah.
Has everyone had a chance to read them? I'm sorry about, again, not promoting this early enough, but these were there over the weekend.
Happens. So I hope everyone got a chance to go through it and everyone is okay with it. I would like to go ahead and sponsor it. And
I would second.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and start for the people I see on my screen. Grant, are you okay with that?
I am. I just have one comment, Andrew. The election of the officers has a sponsor and a second, which isn't required. So possibly that should be removed from the actual minutes, because in some cases the second is to be announced.
Okay. So, Dawn, can you correct that?
Yes.
Thanks, Dawn. Other than that, yes, no, I'm happy.
Do we need, well, Avi would have to put a note next to the minutes on that. Okay, but I'll remove it, no problem.
Thank you, Grant. Martin?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Bill?
It is on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Jubin?
Yes.
Avi?
Yes.
And a yes from my side. So Andrew, the minutes of the meeting from January's meeting is approved with a slight change as mentioned by Grant. Let's go ahead and let's go to the this week's or this month's agenda.
Okay. So this is this month's agenda. We unfortunately have GitHub down today, so unfortunately we could not update it with the text. So I'll take you through slides, and then I'll hand off to Tom. Let me just do the slideshow. Can you see slides on your screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I will correct this agenda after the meeting, probably with Dawn's assistance, so we can get the minutes up basically straight away. And I do apologize, but unfortunately GitHub being down is out of our control. Okay, individual members, we actually had quite a nice growth this month. It was up 114 over last month. I've decided to break them out for you in 1, 2, lifetime and complementary. We have had a 50% year-on-year growth rate. I'm not sure how much more we can sustain. It has started to flatten out, but we do want to reach our stretch goal of 7,000 members this year. We nearly made the 120 required to make that happen. So I will continue working with Lisa and we'll do some membership promotions throughout the year. If they require fee changes, I will work with the board to get an e-vote up on those. Our non-profit profiles, I checked them this morning. They've, strangely enough, GuideStar still has 2021 on its badge, but okay. We will continue to maintain this. In fact, we have given Dawn and a couple of the board members access to GuideStar to help manage it so that we get less problems in the future of passing it through the boards as they get elected. And basically we get into some of the finance stuff, and so what I'll just do is take you through really briefly, and then I'll let Tom take the narrative. at the end of the day, there are some event stuff, and I might get Kelly just simply to say what they are. So let me just move you guys out of the road a little bit. I can't see what it is. We did better than we needed to in January, but we need to keep on doing that. We need to keep an eye on expenses and maintain our budget throughout the year. That's how we came through last year with quite a good, decent change in our overall position, which you can see. The monthly net income actually was dramatically better in many cases. And so we did actually take some charges at the end of December to put the foundation into a much better place, and that's why it's so negative here. One of the things that I would probably highlight is that we projected to make a small loss in September, but because of the 20th anniversary, we ended up making quite a significant profit. We need to keep on doing that. As I said in many times in the past, we need to make sure events are not the majority of our fundraising income. We are on our way to make that happen. With some of the changes that are coming this year, I hope to have staff have more time to do more work in fundraising, donations, and grant seeking. Our cash assets are roughly the same as last month, which is good. Went up slightly by $32,000. That's good. And our accounts receivable, I've decided to put it into a pure dollar term so you can see as a percentage of our overall cash assets, it is actually a smaller percentage than some months. Roughly 25% at the moment is actually over 90 days. Our operating reserves, I reset the actual value here. If you look at last month, you'll see a different number. I reset this to our current run rate of $112,000 per month. And it still works out that we're doing better than normal, and this is a very healthy number of months. So just really briefly, we do have a number of events. If there's any questions, I think probably the best bet is for the board just simply to review these things. The matter that we're going to for the next meeting is actually related to some of this stuff, so I will possibly talk about that at the next one. The career fair, Kelly, did you want to just give a current? Oh, is Kelly actually on the call? Because I think she might be at the career fair.
I'm here.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going good. We, I can tell you right now, we've got, our goal was to have 1,500 attendees or job seekers. Right now we're at 1,561. So that's going well. And we have 25 companies who are participating. And Lauren and I are both keeping an eye on this today. It seems to be going very well. I know that there has been some questions. People just, instead of clicking on the booth or going to visiting a booth, a virtual booth, to see what jobs they are offering, they're kind of asking questions. Like Lauren's fielding those questions that are coming through directly on the career fair platform. I'm doing the ones that are coming through on email.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, it's doing really well. And if my numbers are correct, I think it was almost $20,000 we made, 19,400.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. It's doing well.
Yes.
Okay. And we are starting over with the virtual AppSec. We are starting to get some sponsors interested in it. I've had to sign some contracts with interesting writers. One of them was like insane, but low risk. So just keep an eye on that. That one, we're doing reasonably well so far. We just need to keep an eye on how it's operating. We are currently negotiating with the OWASP Singapore chapter leaders to run an Asia Pac event, and also I've reached out to the OWASP Japan leadership to run a Japanese only track, because unfortunately, or fortunately, there is a great interest in actually having a Japanese event, but because in many ways, like Australians don't speak many other languages other than English, in Japan the similar is true. Many people don't speak English. So having a track just for Japanese folks is going to be a really good idea. So we're in the planning stage for that. We're looking at the end of August, early September, Kelly?
It's August 29th to September 2nd. It's going to be a 4-day event versus a 5-day.
Yep. and we hope to have widespread participation. We will work out actually the attendance fees shortly. Most countries in that area, I would suspect, could support normal fees, but because it's within the time zones, there's some regional, some countries that we would normally get, folks who could attend, say from India or Indonesia, where we actually offer regional pricing. We may figure out some way of doing discount codes. We're not sure at this moment. We're still working through those issues. Okay, San Francisco, we really do need to do some incredible marketing to make sure that we get 500 people there today. Later this year. So once we start getting the marketing for that sorted, I will ask the board to promote it tremendously, and I look forward to seeing you there if you can make it. This is the only time that we'll probably get together in person this year as the board. I would love to see you guys there, but we'll see. We do need about 500 people to turn up. Hey, Martin.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doubting that 500 people will make it. It will be end of the year. It will be the first conference in person this year for us,
Yep.
definitely in the US. Why you're so it sounds like you're doubting that we will have 500 people turn up.
It's a great location to get 500 people turn up. It is actually a very easy location to get a lot of people to come locally without travel. If COVID is still going and international travel is difficult, we would expect lower numbers. DEF CON had a lower number last year than I think they were expecting. I don't think we'll have it as low as they did as a percentage, but I still think we need to make sure that we promote the attendees packages as early as possible, and get sponsors on board to make sure that we actually do make a profit. I do think we can make it. I just think it might be challenging. Avi.
Okay.
At this point, are we assuming that this is definitely happening, or are we still taking this tentatively, considering that another wave is likely to happen soon?
Honestly, we
Sorry
don't.
for being pessimistic here.
I'm not a medical expert, but the hotel has worked with us several times to push it back. We do have the option of doing that up until, Kelly, I think it's 30 days before. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I honestly believe that this event will happen in person. Like we said, God forbid another outbreak happens. They've been really good with us and helping us. So I don't anticipate any problems with this. And Martin, to your point about the 500 attendees, I right now, if you had asked me, I think we'll get more than 500.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah, what you see in Europe, and I don't know for Israel, but in Europe now everything's opening up.
I seen that on the news yesterday. Yeah, that's great.
Some of the riders that I signed for the virtual event in June includes that they require the event to be fully vaccinated. So this is a discussion that we'll have to have with our community if we see some more of those. I support the idea of having this event as a fully vaccinated event, but I know that in America this is a highly political issue, and I don't want to get involved in that. Yeah, it's 2022, and people are worried about. Well, anyway, I won't go there. Wasting time. Vandana.
Yeah.
Are we planning to have some backups if things don't work out the way we have envisioned? Do we have a backup plan for it?
Not at the moment, but yeah, sorry, Kelly, go ahead, please.
No, right now, I mean, we're planning as a face-to-face, but God forbid something were to happen, we would hold it again, but it would be a virtual event.
We're getting quite good at them, and we have a great team in RMK.
Okay. Just a thought, if, let's say, like my fellow board members are saying, if we don't see even 500 people at the virtual event.
Oh, we get that.
All change. So the income and the expenses, we wouldn't have all that with a virtual event. It'd be a lot less, it would be less expensive because we wouldn't have all the beverage and all of that. So yeah, as much as I kind of don't want to think about that, I know, it's in the back of our minds that we do have to have that, maybe a possibility.
Okay. Jubin wants to say something.
Oh, Jubin, sorry.
Sorry, I don't mean to backtrack on the vaccine requirements, but it looks like San Francisco does require vaccination for indoor events.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it seems like it's really not OWASP per se requiring it, but just complying with requirements that are proposed at the city level. So I'm not a lawyer, but maybe something worth looking at.
Honestly, we the tool that Linux Foundation used, which was Clear, to provide a universal platform for vaccine status, works really well. You can scan it at the door. We can actually do temperature checks if we still want to do that. But if it's fully vaccinated, it's probably as low risk as we can make it. I would have actually prefer it, but again, it is a contentious issue in this country. Martin.
Yeah, I think it's the same as we already said. We followed the guidance of the local regulators. So it's not an OWASP rule, it's just we following we are good citizens and we follow the local rules.
Absolutely, 100%. And we've actually approved a event in person at GitHub in March on that basis that they're following the Santa Clara County requirements. It's an outdoor event. Avi?
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to be rabbit holing on this too much. And obviously, I completely support requiring vaccination requirements. But there are, of course, people that can't be vaccinated for whatever immunocompromised situation. Do we have a solution for that? Does the San Francisco laws support that?
Honestly, we don't know. And because we think international travel might still be difficult, I think we should probably, I'll have to talk to Kelly about this, but I think we should be live streaming some of it and doing a hybrid event of some description. We haven't talked about that yet, but personally, honestly, I don't know. Martin?
It is a far away. Already traveling is possible, but actually I traveled to the US end of March. The only need is a test that's less than 24 hours old.
Okay.
And I said also with the other things, we are only looking in the crystal and guessing. So we have to see whatever is required by the time.
Okay, I'll look into it for the board. I'll get back to you next month and we'll give you a definitive answer with what's available now in San Francisco. And let's hope that it might be different or less than we expect. I really do want to see a physical event this year. Linux Foundation proved a fully vaccinated event. It can be very successful. I would like to see if we can do it. Avi, have you still got your hand raised? Okay, sorry. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Tom. Tom?
Hello, everybody. I'm going to take us through the financials quickly. Andrew sent them out. It was a relatively quiet month. You know, we had a little bit of event revenue from a training, and most of it was from sponsorship. As I mentioned to Andrew and Glenn, I've spread the budget over 12 months. What you all saw was an annual. So Andrew, can I?
Yes, you've got sharing privileges.
Okay, so I'm going to walk us through the balance sheet. As you can see, our cash position year over year is up $403,000. Now, part of that is what Andrew mentioned, that we showed, you know, we budgeted for about $100,000 loss in 2021. We actually had over $200,000 gain. So we did exceptionally well. AR's up a little bit, but we have events coming up. So that's what's driving that. We have some prepaids for, you know, events that we have out there. This prepaid has our insurances and meetup and other things. So from an asset perspective, we're up almost $431,000 from where we were at this time last year. I'll stop with the assets for a second, see if anybody has any questions. Okay, not seeing any. So our liabilities, our AP is down a little bit year over year. We don't have the PPP loan anymore. What's driving deferred revenue is us deferring corporate sponsorship / membership at this point. Which is a good thing because those are either been billed out or have been paid. You can see the deferrals in some of our events that are coming up. So we're quite a bit ahead in our deferred revenue, again, which is a good thing because it shows we've got activities coming up that we will definitely make sure that we provide everything we're supposed to. So our total liabilities are up a little bit. Our equity So this is the gain from last year, year over year. And this net income, while it's a negative number, it's still less than what we had assumed from a budget perspective. So I'll show you real quick. Here's the spread over 12 months. So as you can see, this is what we budgeted basically to break even in January because we didn't have much going on for events or revenue generating items. We had budgeted a $48,000 loss. It came in at 30. So we're actually doing better than what we had spread for the year. So I'll stop there for a second, see if anybody has any questions on the liability or equity section of the balance sheet. Okay, not hearing any. I'll take us through the P&L quickly. The year-to-date is the same as the month because we're in the first month of the year. So as you can see, we were up in revenue. That's more or less what was driving it. What's driving the membership is individual membership was spot on, but corporate membership, again, we were a little short during times last year because we have to recognize it over the 12 months that we're earning it. It's catching up to us this year. So we were actually ahead of what the budget was. As you can see, just about every single department was under budget. The marketing was a little bit up for the month, but in total, we were basically spot on to what we had budgeted for expenses. So the what we were up in revenue plus what we were down in expenses shows us to be almost $18,000 better than our budgeted net income. So again, a good month. The other thing I'll mention is, as Andrew mentioned, 13 months of operating reserve. The nonprofit industry average in the US is 6. So we're double that. And normally when I have a client that gets to something like this, I'll recommend maybe looking at investments, but because we have to use our funds to prepay for events in the future, I think where we are having 13 months is actually a pretty good spot. So with that, I will stop and take any questions on the finances for January. Okay, not hearing any, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew because I know we've got a lot to go over.
Yeah.
Was actually one question there, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Avi, go ahead.
Your typical recommendation of 6 months and, investing if it's more than that, has that changed over during COVID? Like considering uncertainty of what will happen next?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The ASA is still recommending, 6 months. All of the couple of clients I had that didn't have at least 6 months of reserve have really felt the pinch of COVID. So having 6 months reserve means you won't take in a dime during those 6 months. And at this point, we're not going to be bringing in some revenue. So, to your point, I haven't seen any recommendations to increase it more than 6. Again, it's just a guide to do it when I have one client that got up to 35 months of reserve because they had an exceptional online event. I'm like, okay, you need to do one of two things. You either need to invest it back into the organization, maybe a website refresh or whatever, and then look at some investments. But if you're between 6 and 15 months, I think we see how we do for the rest of this year, and then we can take a look at it. Does that answer your? Perfect.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Andrew, back to you.
Okay, and with that, we generally go to business. So there was one e-vote, motion to join non-profit cyber as a founding member. This was sponsored by Martin and seconded by Grant. The vote was successful and everybody passed. So that is now in the voting history. And Martin, thank you. Martin, please go ahead.
So tomorrow actually will be the official public broadcasting about this.
Okay. I did see that there was a press release. I must admit, because of the public holiday, I have not read it yet. It actually came through this morning. I will read it. Martin, can you have a look at it as well, please? And I will actually, I didn't see anything horrible, but I just want to make sure it says everything we want to say.
I already talked with Ken about it. I want to just keep you out of that because I think we have other things we had.
Okay. Okay, and with that, we have Grant. Grant, I know that you're actually traveling and you're on alternative audio. Are you able to talk about this motion to approve a budget and travel for DEF CON?
I certainly am, and that's also the reason that Spiros is here with us today. So this is something that we've briefly talked about. It's something that we have done in previous years. It's something that the outreach committee would like to do this year if DEF CON is happening in person. So maybe Spiros, if you wouldn't mind, if I can recognize Spiros and he can talk to us about what they want to achieve and what this is about.
Sounds fantastic. Thanks, thanks, Grant. So it's pretty similar to what we've done previous years with DEF CON. DEF CON allows vendors, so we could register as a vendor, have a small table in DEF CON, and exchange T-shirts for donations. That would require us to procure some T-shirts, and the past years we did this. We had some custom DEF CON artwork, which made the T-shirts go away like hotcakes, which was great. So that's pretty much it. If we could have, I would be super happy to run this and help organize, and also be the main person on the table. To this end, I've put together the suggested budget. You guys can see on the screen, and that's about it.
So just for the board's edification, the staff board travel, it'd be one of us. That is actually my anniversary. It probably will be someone else, but I would like it very much if we could have someone there who can deposit the money daily into the Citizens Bank. There are 3 branches in Las Vegas, a short drive away. DEF CON is generally a cash-only environment. We can do credit cards if you wish, but generally most people like to give money.
What are we going to be collecting money for?
T-shirts.
Oh, I thought they were giving T-shirts away, not selling them.
I think it's always that you donate to OWASP, and as a thank you token, you can get a T-shirt.
Right.
Yeah,
Kelly, the original spreadsheet said that they were going to sell, and the one that they were going to sell them for $25 a pop and try to cover the cost of this 17,000, which is, in my opinion, not doable, considering we've only sold them probably $4,000 or $5,000. I don't believe we could sell $15,000 worth of T-shirts. So they have changed it since then.
Yeah, so definitely, I think this will not be a money-making event, and I think it's not intended to be a money-making event. It's an OWASP community event and community building event. I think it's very beneficial. Even the money to be invested, even if there's a 10K to be there, you always can ask how many T-shirts there are. 1,400 T-shirts, it's a lot, but we easily also rent through T-shirts. I think definitely it's a event that is really for the community. Is good to be there and raise awareness that OWASP is still alive.
Will the design on the T-shirt be DEF CON specific, or will we have an opportunity to continue to sell these shirts through other mechanisms?
So the past years, the idea was that we create a DEF CON specific design, but we can then put T-shirts with this design on our eShop and sell them via other online means. But the fact that we make a specific design for DEF CON, which usually has some quite different artwork than the normal OWASP branded T-shirts or swag, makes these T-shirts kind of a little bit more desirable.
Yeah. I totally agree with Spiros there.
Vandana?
Yeah, Especially when we talk about these t-shirts, can we reuse the old t-shirts that we have? Because I remember we created certain t-shirts specifically for DEF CON, or even if the t-shirts are over, can we pick up the design from there?
Dawn, I don't know what we've got at Conic. What do we have at Conic in terms of t-shirts?
Nothing really, but just history's shown that that's why Conic has so much old merchandise. Paying to ship everything back and then paying to ship them to individuals afterwards is really not profitable, because you'd have to up the price for all the shirts. You're better off giving them away if you don't sell them, because by the time you pay to ship them back and then try to resell them and ship them, and that's why we have so much stuff left over in the past. And that's why we stopped doing the merchandise store at OWASP events, because we don't ship things back.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I also wanted to understand more about the vendor badges.
So
What?
the way that DEF CON works, because DEF CON is cash only. So the way that DEF CON works is that in order to gain access to a room, to the vendor hall, prior to the general opening of the day, then you have to have a specific vendor badge. Those badges are then assigned to individuals, so that everyone who's needing to be in that room early needs to have a vendor badge. I have reached out to Jeff Moss to ask him if he's prepared to sponsor the badges for the vendor badges for us, as well as to discount the cost of the table in the room. So hopefully Jeff will provide us with that, but what we've asked for in the budget covers it. If we don't use the whole budget, I would much rather have the money assigned to this and come back to the foundation than not have the money to actually do it when we've sort of arranged for something down the line.
Yeah,
So
with you
the
on that.
table itself doesn't, when you purchase the table, that doesn't come with any vendor passes or badges?
No, it doesn't. It literally, so the cost of the table from DEF CON's perspective is literally the cost of having someone who's part of the union set up the table in the room for you.
Okay.
They make their money off the vendors by the vendor badges they give access to. Because a vendor badge is also full access to the conference, right? It also provides access to everything. It just provides early access to the room as well.
Avi?
Going back to what Martin said about community awareness, do we really think anybody at Black Hat is not aware of OWASP?
This is DEF CON.
Those that would be interested. Sorry, DEF CON that would be interested. Obviously, there's some that are just not relevant to that, but
this is my main concern. The charter of the outreach committee is to reach like executives and developers. This is a community that already knows us fairly well. And honestly, as long as the board understands this is $20,000 towards having a DEF CON table, you can make a vote on anything you want. But my major concern here is that we're not reaching a new audience, but that's the board's concern.
exactly my point, Andrew. Thank you.
So my issue here is that there are 30,000 DEF CON attendees, and we do not have that many members. So it's not like everyone at DEF CON is an OWASP member. And I hope the outreach committee will be talking to all these people who are coming to the table about memberships, about joining the organization, participating in it.
So would
We
you
have
see this
hands raised by Glenn, Spiros, Harold, and myself. Avi?
Sorry?
We have hands raised by Avi, Spiros, Glenn, Harold, and myself.
I'm just curious about what Grant said. So are you seeing this more as a membership drive?
Spiros. Oh, sorry, Grant. Oh, Spiros.
So I see this as a membership drive, but also as a project awareness drive. Because there are some projects that we don't get out there and talk a lot about. And yes, sure, there's lots of projects that people at DEF CON are aware of, but there are over 200 projects, right?
Exactly.
So this is an opportunity about new things. Sorry, Spiros, go ahead.
Exactly. And not only that, it's also, there are so many professionals who haven't, for one reason or the other, not realized the value that using different OWASP projects or documentation in new ways. It's also a chance for the community to come together and have, since we have the table, it provides us a lot with good foot traffic. Also, every t-shirt we sell, we exchange for memberships, for like donations. It's not outreach only at DEF CON. These t-shirts, the t-shirts I've seen at least in the past, have been worn in all sorts of other random conferences and events, and it gives us outreach outside of this. All these people work in a company with developers. They wear these t-shirts to work. It's almost like a badge of honor. All the developers who see these t-shirts are gonna get curious. It's way more far-reaching than meeting somebody at DEF CON. It's a possibility of 30,000 people and their places of work and their places where they will wear those t-shirts.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I'm also a little bit interested in getting specific designs for this specific conference, right? Because it gives us a better chance of these things being worn like in every day, right? Sorry, that's all.
Okay, Martin, you were next, then Glenn, then Harold, then Avi.
Yeah, so definitely, I think that the outreach, so I have been there the last time we had an in-person meeting at the table. And yes, a lot of people know OWASP, but they know the OWASP top 10. To be there talk, the one is just be an illusionist kind of organization that's not there, or be there and connect people and tell them that we are more than the OWASP 10. I started in the morning, I was talking about OWASP and educating people about OWASP all day to the end, and my voice was gone. It's definitely, in my point of view, definitely something to go. The other thing is, we wouldn't do it for developer conferences, and I think there should not be of course, we need to go to developer conferences. I hope to see more in that as well. And I know that Spiros has done this too, but definitely the value of this, that security people know what is OWASP, and that OWASP not the OWASP top 10, but more, is definitely worth it.
Okay. Sorry, I think I'm muted. No, I'm not. Okay, next, Glenn.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the amount of t-shirts that we're going to pre-print, actually. For me, the question of if it's good or not and the outreach, I actually fully agree with Faris and Martin that we should be there. But I was just thinking about the logistics, like, you know, I heard somebody saying, don't know who, but, you know, okay, so we need to bring those shirts there. Then we have leftovers, we need to bring them back. So why are we actually printing that many? Why can't we just have a very small stock, hang them around? And actually, when people make the donation, we can, you know, ask them, hey, do you want to ship it directly? I mean, I think we have a swag shop that could facilitate this, right? And we also don't have the money, you know, to carry around in Las Vegas and deposit it. I mean, also the investment we need to do up front, that we don't be leaving with a huge stockpile afterwards with a custom designed specifically shirt for this event. It makes more sense to maybe utilize the swag shop more. Yeah.
So, with the current merch shop we use, we would actually have to do something like give people a discount code they could redeem. I don't mind doing that, but essentially, one of the things at DEF CON is essentially along the lines of, you know, you get free swag. I'm very happy for us to provide, like, print out a bunch of discount codes attached to a bottom of a flyer or something similar. I think that might work better and reduce waste, but it's up to you. It's up to the board. And honestly, Spiros is taking the lead on getting this organized. So possibly also, we've got to think about that. Harold.
Minor comment as an observation, just from having attended past Black Hat and DEF CON. And even though I am positive that this will astound people, there are always people there who say, oh, OWASP, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably 10%, but it's still there.
Okay. Avi?
Thanks. Two things. First of all, there are, of course, people that are unfamiliar with it. I would say there's more people at DEF CON that just have nothing to do with OWASP because they live in a different part of security from OWASP. in which case it would be irrelevant. The other thing I wanted to ask was about the t-shirts. Is there any data, any basis for saying that by simply people wearing shirts that's outreach and so that people will start using our projects or sign up for it? I don't know, it just feels like marketing buzz.
We've never actually measured it, and quite frankly, in past years, we've never received a membership bump after DEF CON, but at the same time, we don't have good marketing, so we don't know if it was successful or not. So I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to your question.
I don't mean just OWASP, I mean in general, simply, does t-shirt marketing actually work? Listen, I love vendor t-shirts. I wear them all the time, almost uniquely. The question is it, I mean, sure, they're great, but is that actually marketing outreach?
I must admit, when I was working in a shared place like WeWork, is a different company, but I was wearing my OWASP t-shirt once, and I did get asked a question, but that in all the time I've been in OWASP and had OWASP merch was the only time I've ever been asked, and that's anecdata, not real market research.
I feel like that's all we have, though.
Yeah, Spiros.
Sorry, that makes sense. We don't have good enough data for it, but again, we haven't done this enough. We haven't done this significant amounts of time to have good data. As for the number of t-shirts, it's kind of economies of scale. At least that's what I had in mind when I noted the number. We could lower it. My idea was the more we get, the cheaper it will be per t-shirt. And then if we are left with like 1,000 t-shirts, worst case scenario, according to my hopes, is we can give them to leaders to take back to their chapters, US leaders to take back to their chapters, and either sell them or disseminate in their chapters.
Mm-hmm. Do we have many chapter leaders going to DEF CON? I know that probably yes is the answer, but you know, I personally, I ditch almost all the swag that I get, except for the stuff I really want. Is it realistic?
I still have my DEF CON t-shirt.
Yeah, I do have DEF CON. Yeah, I still have my DEF CON t-shirts too, but the vast majority of swag that I'm given at conferences I no longer have. But anyway, let's table that. Jubin.
I'll actually let Dawn go first because she was going to say something I think that was related. She was trying to put her hands up, so I'll wait for Dawn.
Thank you. I was just going to say about what you kind of said about the marketing on this, the whole selling of the t-shirts. Tom can answer. I don't know how you're going to ever track that situation if chapter leaders start selling merchandise. I don't know how I can track that, being in charge of merchandise. So we would have to say, to me, if you give them out, and that's fine, there's nothing wrong with that, is it becomes swag for chapters. I don't see them selling it. But my next question, I just throw out there, if we think the t-shirt is such a great marketing, why not just do it at Black Hat and you get more people at Black Hat if that's the marketing thing? That was just, and then you answer the question. So that was the only thing. Thank you.
Jubin?
Okay, so I'll put my thoughts in the chat. I have a lot of thoughts on this, and we don't have to talk about every single one of them. But typically, shirts aren't just given away at even the vendors, right? They get something back in return. Sometimes they put your name on a mailing list. Sometimes there's a lot of things that go with that. So what will that be that thing for us? I put an example here. Do we want to give them a cheaper or a discounted membership, and with that they get a shirt? I don't know. So there's some thoughts to go there. The second point I have there is I don't think we should target a single designer. Dark One is absolutely a famous one. She has more followers than we have members. I get the draw there, and maybe she is the one that's going to get the design. But I do think we should make it an engaging thing for the community to get on a contest to design our shirt for DEF CON, and maybe Dark One will be the winner. I don't know. But I do think we should get engagement from the community. And the last thing is, I think there's higher value in the meet and greet than just t-shirts. So in the scaled down budget, I think we took away the DEF CON diversity meetup. I think there's a lot of value in there. So can we see a proposal for what it looks like if we have that, but we scale down maybe on number of t-shirts or other things? Sorry, that was a lot of rambling. We can take this offline if you guys want to chat more about this.
Yeah, I just.
Can I say something?
Yes, absolutely.
I think this discussion is like needs a lot more time, and probably we should table this and discuss it offline if everyone is okay with that.
I would probably suggest. I
Yeah,
think
Martin
honestly.
wants to say something.
Yeah, I see Tom Bowers and can I also have the hands up? I think
So
Thomas for the longest time.
thank you, Martin. Mine's real quick, just a couple of points of context
Mhm.
for you all. So I can tell you a lot of the open source clients that I have, t-shirts and stickers are it. I helped run the Apache Con in 2019, over 800 people, and we ran out of t-shirts like that. However, in order to get a t-shirt, as Jubin said, you had to do something. You had to give a business card. You had to, sometimes, when we ran out of that, we did, give your email information. So there is a way to get something back for it. And I think, maybe doing some type of membership associated with it would help as well, but it's definitely outreach. Sorry, my 2 cents.
Yeah, I don't have still the hands up. I don't know if you want to say something still.
Dawn posted something in the chat, which is essentially that most people don't bring electronics, and therefore we would need a relatively low-tech way of giving memberships, is what I'm trying to think.
I really like the idea that they donate and get, because it's an outreach, right? I know that at companies, sometimes you have to put a business card down, but we won't want to do it. And actually with GDPR, what do you want to do with business cards? Do you want to type in the names? Good luck with that. So do we want to have all these email addresses from somebody who gave us money to get a t-shirt? I don't know. So just say, hey, if you sponsor us, here's a t-shirt, be happy. So the other thing is definitely, I like the idea, because in the past, when I was there, we also had this double gig, right? DEF CON and Black Hat. Black Hat is much more expensive. It's much more business, but still the travel to get there makes worth thinking about doing 2 at once, right? They're still back to back to each other, I guess.
Yeah.
So then it makes sense, if possible, to make it happen if financial. But we're discussing now DEF CON. So I think, yes, the money has been high, but I think that will be reduced, and I agree with Grant. So yeah.
I do think, by the sounds of things, there is the potential for a couple of board members to not support this motion. But I think, honestly, what you should do is just simply do a motion to approve a budget and then work on the details after it's been approved. I think there's a lot of discussion here that's really valuable that could improve our response, having better marketing, flyers, those sorts of things. I think there's a lot of detail here that needs to be worked out. It's only $20,000, so maybe that might be a way to go forward today to give Spiros and the Outreach Committee some sort of knowledge that they can go ahead. But there's more details to be worked out. I mean, what do people think about that? And Grant, you've got your hand up, so you're the sponsor. What do you think?
Yeah, so I'd like to then at this point ask for a motion to approve a budget not exceeding $15,000 for DEF CON. And then I'll work with Spiros to find out exactly how much we're going to spend. Because as I said, Jeff has said he's prepared to help us out like he does with the EFF. If we can extend it to include Black Hat as well, there's a little bit more outreach there. The details become something we can work through. But I do want the Outreach Committee to know that they have an opportunity to make this thing happen at Hacker Summer Camp. And let's approve a budget to make that happen. And obviously, anything that doesn't get used by that budget, because we get someone to sponsor it, like a We Are Outreach Diversity party, that would then just not be spent, and that's better.
Okay, I'm putting a revised motion in the board, in the chat. Resolved that a budget of up to 15,000 and travel for DEF CON is approved. That's a friendly amendment. Is that something that you would actually be supportive of, Grant and Vandana?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Vandana, do you want to run the vote?
Right. So if everyone is okay, let's go ahead and start the voting with the people I see on my screen. The first, okay. Before running the voting, I can still see some hands up. So can we go ahead?
Oh, Dawn.
Yes, what? I'm sorry.
Oh, you had your hand up. Sorry.
Oh, no, I talked. I guess I didn't take it down. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah, Vandana.
Hey, Vandana, before we take a vote, do you mind reading what Andrew just pasted in the chat so that we know what the vote is on for the record?
You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. So I'm off my headphones. So a motion is resolved as that a budget of up to $15,000 and travel for DEF CON is approved. I hope everyone is okay with that. Perfect.
The motion is to approve, right?
To approve.
Yes, the motion is to approve a budget.
Yes.
I would feel
motion is to
better if
approve
it.
the budget.
Hang on,
Motion is-
Bill, go for it.
I would just feel better if we also measured some sort of impact from this event. I heard earlier that previous events, we don't really know what our impact was. And so I feel like if we're going to spend $15,000, we should walk away with like knowing that we talked to a certain number of people, or we had a bump in our membership or something, right? Like, I feel like we should measure it in some way. And so having an idea of how we do that would be, I think, helpful.
So
It's a
Bill,
good one, but I've been in many companies where we sell service a big conference. The measuring of impact being at a conference, it's really hard to have tangible numbers because it's being there, being seen, but you don't measure. You only see who is also there. So it's always very hard. And sales says, "Oh, there's events that they only cost money," but when you're not at the events, nobody sees you. So it's very hard to make it tangible.
So
measurable.
I'm happy to work with Bill and Spiros around how we can potentially do that, because I feel that we should be able to show the value of this. I don't think it's going to be hard to show. EFF do it every year at DEF CON. They show the value of being there. So I think we can do it. But right now, what I'd like to do is ensure that we have the budget set aside to make this happen. To be clear, the budget includes permission to travel, not the cost of travel, right?
It is not the budget.
Yeah, so there's some travel in the budget, but that's for staff, for a staff member to be there.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you.
This being the,
go ahead. Right. So.
Just saying that because this is community outreach, the community, the members, the community members who want to run the table are prepared to be there. They just don't want to have additional costs associated with having to pay to get access to the table, right?
Exactly.
That's what this is about.
Okay.
Right. Absolutely. And probably we can work on this offline to get more details about how exactly we can track it, how exactly we can connect with the people who visited our booth. I have seen many cases where people ask to fill the forms, and there are some QR codes that we can create so that we can connect with those people as well and tell them about the membership programs and the benefits that we have. Even though I'm sure at the booth we are going to tell them, but it's always good to have a warm email to them.
Well, I'd like to see us potentially have paper and cash-based sign up for memberships, right? Where you can fill in your details on a form, give us $50 and you become a member. We'll process that offline when we get back to somewhere where electronics are safe. This is how EFF do it every year, right? So there are ways to do it. So let's talk about it offline, but thank you, Vandana. If we can get the budget assigned, that would be great.
Right, absolutely. Now, before I go for the vote, anyone has any questions or comments around it? Okay, so I'll read the motion again. It is to approve the budget and travel for DEF CON, which is $15,000. And I'll take the vote as I see people on my screen. Martin?
Yes.
Grant?
Yes.
Jubin?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Avi?
abstain.
Or was that abstain?
Abstain, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
It's a yes from my side. So the
Motion
motion is
passed.
approved with all the votes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Spiros. I would like to propose a agenda change and to table the trademark strategy until next month to permit time for an executive session. Is there anyone who could support that tabling? Or would you just simply say yes?
Yes.
Happy to support it.
Okay, so the trademark strategy is tabled until the next meeting, which is going to be on March 22nd. If we need to bring the trademark strategy forward, I will obviously reach out to you, but I don't think it's as urgent as the next item. So, Vandana, can you run the adjournment and then we'll get into an executive session?
Sure. Thank you so much. So thanks everyone for joining today. And the next general board meeting will be on March 22nd, 2022 at 12 p.m. US Eastern Time. Who wants to second it? I sponsor it. Who wants to second it?
I can second it.
Thanks, Martin. Over to you, Andrew.
Okay, thank you everybody. I'm going to be turning off the recording, and if everybody who's not a board member can, we'll see you next month, basically.